Do you know the thing that really leaves a bad taste in the mouth, though, ladies and gentlemen? The thing that really leaves a bad taste in the mouth is Pam Bondi, believed before she was appointed to Attorney General, criticising the previous Attorney General, Merrick Garland, for not releasing the files and for not being transparent. So now that she's in the position, she's doing the exact same thing. It's fine. When Merrick Garland was doing it before, Pam Bondi was on him like a rabid dog. And that should really leave a bad taste in the mouth, ladies and gentlemen. So you either die the hero or you do indeed live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I'm not sure when this is from. This video was put up on X in literally a day ago, literally yesterday. I'm not sure when this is from, but this is what Pam Bondi had to say in the past about the previous Attorney General in relation to the Epstein files.
I want to know why AG Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. You know, they're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
So when it was politically advantageous for her questioning the previous Attorney General, which well within their right to do, or well within her right to do, but again, doesn't leave a good taste in the mouth if you're just an American citizen or anybody who wants to know who the disgusting, often like Satan-worshipping people were who were doing these heinous things on Jeffrey Epstein's island. So, yeah, really, really awful stuff. And it's very easy to see now why people are calling on, for example, Pam Bondi to resign. It's quite clear, although that, again, not trying to say that I could do a better job or anything like that, but it's quite clear, or at least at the moment, it seems quite clear that we're not going to get an answer with her. She's not going to be the one to come forward and tell the American people what really happened. She's not going to be the one to come forward and give people the truth. I can't help but think that, for example, if you had somebody like Matt Gaetz, in there, that you wouldn't have had any of this. You wouldn't have had any of this with somebody like Matt Gaetz, I don't think. For all of the other things which you can disagree with him on, you know, I know he's quite a divisive character on things like Israel and foreign policy and all of these things, right? Had allegations against him himself, you know, all of these things. And obviously he removed himself from the running for Attorney General, I think, because of the allegations people were making against him at the time. He didn't want to harm Trump's campaign and any of that stuff. I can't but think that if you had somebody like Matt Gaetz, even if it's not Matt Gaetz himself, but somebody like Matt Gaetz who just has brass balls to do what's required, you wouldn't have had any of this stuff. You wouldn't have had Bindergate. You wouldn't have had things like this making you look like an embarrassment on the world stage. And not only that, that's really discredited Trump as a good leader on this issue and has really given a lot of unnecessary ammunition to his critics, at least to say, to either bring up all the allegations that he's in the files, that he's been on Jeffrey Epstein's island doing all these horrendous things to kids, and that's why it's not coming out, that he's no better than any of the others. It's just given so much unnecessary ammunition to his detractors. And has really, really, if this doesn't get sorted, people are not going to forget it in 2028. People are not going to forget it in 2028. And you got to think it would be the biggest, I think one of the biggest downfalls in political history in America for, you know, the Republicans for the first time in 20 years to go from, you know, to win the popular vote, to win historically with, I think, black Americans, to win historically with women, typically married women, as you know, single liberal women, nuttier than squirrel shit. So again, they're not going to vote for Trump or anything like that. So again, people are not going to forget this in 2028. People are not going to forget this. This will be the biggest betrayal that people will have seen, because you guys really came in. People really rallied behind you, thinking that they were going to get answers to this issue, thinking that you guys were going to do what's required. When you said you were going to, this is Kash Patel, for example, saying you were going to release these documents on day one, Okay, you were going to release them on day one, that you were going to turn the FBI headquarters in New York into a museum. People are not going to forget that. People are not going to forget how much they were gaslit, how much faith that they put in you, and how much shit you kicked back in their face. And they will remember it when it comes to the next election. They will remember it when it comes to 2028. Even J.D. Vance in the past made remarks saying that, oh yeah, we really need to release the list and stuff like that. And he seems to be oddly quiet at the moment. It's kind of funny again how, Diddy and Epstein basically got acquitted in the same week. Well, this is the post that J.D. Vance made in 2021, for example. Remember when we learned that our wealthiest and most powerful people were connected to a guy who ran a literal child sex trafficking ring, and then that guy died mysteriously in a jail? Now we just don't talk about it. That was on, I believe, this is the 4th of September, because Yankees, again, they're very weird. They do their dates backwards, of 2021. And it seems, again, a lot of them have been very, very quiet on this issue now. So again, they have nobody to blame but themselves for this. They have nobody to blame but themselves for this. And again, Pam Bondi being very disingenuous and saying we were never going to release child porn, as if that's what people were asking for. No, they wanted the names of people that done these horrific things. We don't need or want to see the horrendous things that happened. Now, the last thing to talk about with regards to this issue, I just want to go through a couple of things that really piss me off with the British government in particular. There's going to be an episode coming very soon as well, ladies and gentlemen, talking about a lot of the things with regards to the Welsh government coming up, and a couple of other things as well that are not going to make it in today. So stay tuned for that in the next day or two. So here you go. This is the video that Pam Bondi was alluding to when she said she tried to give this really thingy explanation as to why the video was missing this minute. This is the video in question. So this is a video of a cell block, and it has what I believe is either a 46 or 48 on one of the doors. And this is meant to be the cell that Jeffrey Epstein was housed in. Now, I believe some further context of this says it's not actually the cell itself. It's like the entrance to the cell block or something. But this is allegedly the video from right outside Jeffrey Epstein's cell. So obviously people were saying that he was not, that he was suicided. He didn't commit suicide, but he was suicided. Would say that we would see people go into his cell and do, kill him, off him, and then go back out, right? And in theory, this wouldn't take long. This wouldn't take long at all. So on the 9th of August, 2019 is when this video is from. Or it's either that or it's from the 8th of September, but I believe this is the 9th of August. You have here footage from the outside of the cell, and there's a minute missing, as you'll see here now, ladies and gentlemen, as I go over and play it. Oh, I didn't play it. There we go. So the clock is ticking. For those of you who are listening, not watching, so those of you who should have paid attention to the timestamp down in the corner, you would have seen what just happened. You have here the timestamp, and it says 11:58, and I'll read it for you now. It goes 55, 56, 57, 58, and then boom, it goes straight to midnight the next day. So there you go. This is the 9th of August. I'm going to let it play one more time. This is the 9th of August, and then you see it go 56, 57, 58, boom. And then it changes. Only thing is, ladies and gentlemen, whatever Pam Bondi's explanation was going to be as to the video's legitimacy and stuff like that, later articles came out. They said the cameras went down. There was no footage, anything like that. Now they all of a sudden provide camera footage. Interesting. They say there is a list. Now there isn't a list. Very interesting. This is something I believe that was reported, at least it was reported in Wired, for example. This was reported in Wired, that the footage that was quote-unquote raw footage from outside Jeffrey Epstein's cell wasn't in fact raw footage and was spliced together in Adobe Premiere Pro from 2 clips. apparently saved 4 separate times before being posted online. So I believe this is an extract from the Wired article that somebody has kindly posted, because I'm not going to go pay the Wired subscription to get the full thing. It says here, the United States Department of Justice this week released nearly 11 hours of what it describes as quote-unquote full raw surveillance footage from a camera positioned near Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell the night before he was found dead. The release was intended to address conspiracy theories about Epstein's apparent suicide in federal custody. But instead of putting those suspicions to rest, it may fuel them further, because metadata embedded in the video and analyzed by Wired and independent video forensics experts shows that rather than being a direct export from the prison's surveillance system, the footage was modified, likely using the professional editing tool Adobe Premiere Pro. The file appears to have been assembled from at least 2 source clips, saved multiple times, exported, and then uploaded to the DOJ's website, where it was presented as raw footage. This would be, I can only see how this is a stake in the heart of all of these narratives around Jeffrey Epstein that the recent administration, the Trump administration, has tried to push. And it just reeks of continuing the cover-up that, again, those of us that actually got our hopes up with regards to maybe getting a proper answer were just, again, told basically to go fuck ourselves. Basically, no, fuck you, you're not getting an answer. None of this is ever going to come out. And it just reeks of government corruption that we were hoping was going to, we were hoping the swamp was going to be cleaned. You know, drain the swamp. And then we just shown that it's more of the same. Seemingly it's more of the same.